Now we've got the stars of the upcoming film, The Apprentice, Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Sebastian, you play Donald Trump. Jeremy, you play Roy Cohn. Both of you guys, first of all, pulled in a masterful performance. The movie was great, but your guys' performance was absolutely stellar. Just right off the bat, to kind of level set here, because he may not be as well known as Donald Trump. Jeremy, can you give some insight into who Roy Cohn is?
Sure. Roy Cohn was a lawyer and essentially a power broker. He was Joe McCarthy's chief counsel during the McCarthy hearings. And one of the first things he did was send Ethel and Julius Rosenberg to the electric chair when he was in his early 20s. He became a very, very successful, prominent New York lawyer who represented everyone from Cardinal Spellman to George Steinbrenner to the bosses of the mob families to Aristotle Onassis to Donald Trump. He was a controversial and infamous figure, and he was undeniably a brilliant lawyer, and he was a lifelong Democrat.
So what did it mean for you guys to make a film and tell a story that is so relevant to the moment that we're living in right now?
Well, I think it was, I guess, pretty much same old approach as always. For on my end, I guess maybe more so on this one in the sense of just trying to really, cross out the character names and go into it as you would.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's of course a level of awareness
Right.
of the subject and the big swing that we're all taking. We're sort of, our feet are to the fire on this one. But as actors, you approach it the way you approach anything, as characters in a story. But I think both of us have worked on a number of things that are based in real life, and you feel a great responsibility to serve those stories. This one, I felt maybe an even greater responsibility than ever before to get it right and to hold the mirror up to our society and to these people.
Were either of you hesitant or nervous or excited about taking on these roles? Like, I'm sure the gravity of telling this story at this moment in time wasn't lost on you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's I guess it comes with the job and this particular job, but for me, it was always about Ali Abbasi's involvement in the project and having a European filmmaker kind of add a lens to this particular story, and that was what was exciting to me. And obviously, then when Jeremy came on, it got more exciting because then it really felt like I had a partner going in. It's
Ali makes like these monster movies. He's like a subversive filmmaker and a kind of punk rock filmmaker. Border and Holy Spider, they're both incredible movies, but for me, the sort of cross-pollination of Ali Abbasi and Gabe Sherman, who is a political writer for Vanity Fair and wrote a book on Roger Ailes called The Loudest Voice in the Room that he adapted for television. But the combination of this meticulously researched journalistic veracity with a kind of David Lynch horror movie director felt just really exciting. You want movies to be 1 + 1 = 3.
What was your reaction to finding out the news that Donald Trump had sent a cease and desist to try to prevent this film from being released?
pretty predictable, pretty expected.
Yeah.
As I think Roy Cohn would have been very pleased with it. It's directly out of Roy's playbook,
Yeah.
Which is what the film explores. His sort of malign influence and outsized influence on Donald Trump. But it's something that certainly Roy would have suggested and approved.
Sebastian, what was your process for portraying Donald Trump in this film? Like, there were moments when I was watching and it was almost chilling to see how uncanny it was, but in the most subtle way. But you're not exactly doing like the Alec Baldwin version of Donald Trump here. So what was that process and how did you prepare?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a technical piece to it. I at least for me, in terms of a real life person, I really think it's very similar to kind of learning how to play an instrument, like a piece of music on a piano. You you go there every day and it's slow, and you go back again the next day and you keep practicing until you sort of like get to a point where you can do it in your sleep and you don't even think about it, and you can play it while you're doing a million other things. And it just sort of like, there's an osmosis process to it. And then obviously there's a whole research piece to it. You in this particular case, it was a lot of footage and a lot of information to go out there and kind of download and digest. And I actually also really looked at everything that everyone else had done to sort of figure out what not to do. And I don't usually think about that, but in this particular case, there had to be some things that are very familiar and recognizable. And then it was about sort of getting ready to, for anything that could happen on the day, because that's how we were working. We would go there and Ali would throw these curveballs, and one take we could be sitting here, the next take we could be talking about, whatever happened in 1978 and who the pitcher of the Mets was or whatever. So all those facts needed to be,
How did you consider the fact that like the Donald Trump that we have today is the natural conclusion of 78 years of who he is, but he wasn't always like that. I mean, obviously, like this is him at his maturity. How were you able to kind of capture him before all of the characteristics that he conveys now really settled in?
Yeah, well, you have to remove all judgment. You have to look at what is in the script and how are you serving the story. And if you go back, particularly for me, the Rona Barrett interview in its entirety, and it's about 45 minutes to an hour or something, and it's on YouTube, it really captures so much of what I didn't know, and of this person at that time that's very different than the person today. And it's actually the evolution of where we got to today has happened over time. And I guess I was trying to figure out how that happened.
Jeremy, you just finished Succession, which seems to be, loosely based on the Murdochs, where you played Kendall Roy. There are some obvious similarities in terms of these New York right-wing power players that you've portrayed. Is that by chance, or is there just something about playing these characters that appeals to you?
No, I mean, it's totally by chance. But I would say that I tend to find the most compelling stories and the highest stakes are usually around real people and real events. So I think it's a really rich terrain. And Cohen is a fascinating, terrifying figure whose shadow we're really experiencing right now in this country in an incalculable way. But no, I mean, you can draw a line that traces these. Murdoch is at a party at his house, and I introduced them to each other in our film. But no, I'm just I'm like Zelig as an actor that happens to be around these people, I guess.
Just for a quick note for viewers watching right now and people listening in, I should note that this film was, again, blocked from distribution in the U.S. After Donald Trump's lawyers hit the production with a cease and desist. The filmmakers turned to a grassroots solution, including launching a Kickstarter to help pay for promotion. That Kickstarter is live right now. So for, again, people watching and listening, you can donate to stream the movie after it hits theaters, or you can even donate to get your name in the credits of this movie. So I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video, and you can head over to the Kickstarter. Sebastian, you detail Trump's journey, largely influenced by Roy Cohn, to where he is today. On one hand, there could be sympathy for him given the fact that it was Roy who kind of molded him into who he is now. But on the other hand, Donald Trump is a grown-ass man. He has autonomy, and he's responsible for how he acts. Did playing this role and being part of this story change or influence how you felt about the person that you're portraying?
I can't remember where I heard it, but I can't remember if maybe you said it or I heard it recently where someone said, like, after a certain age, like 30, we can't no longer blame our parents for
Yeah.
for our actions, I mean, you could, obviously I'm not a therapist or a psychoanalyst or anything, but if you can trace certain things that sometimes can lead to other things in terms of, there are seeds there that perhaps in at the right time, at the right place, lead to something else, and that could be an argument you could make here with him and how much was there before influenced and what was taken. But I do feel like, we all come into this world as babies, and we're essentially a blank canvas, and we don't come into this world with opinions and things. We inherit a lot of things and traumas and relationships, and obviously our parents have to deal with it. But after a certain point, right, you got to take responsibility in some way, and that's all of us essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because not taking responsibility is a hallmark of who Donald Trump is, even to today. And so, that actually is his character.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Always claim victory. I mean,
I would say that Roy Cohn, really, his legacy is a legacy of denialism, of an intractable defiance of reality and a denial of reality, a denial of his own reality and a denial of reality. And that is what one thing that he passed on.
Yeah.
That we're all seeing. Now, I also want to say, I think it was important to all of us. We approach these things as actors, as humanists. We're attempting to understand human nature. So while it's a monster movie, I think it's important to not say, that's a monster over there, I'm not a monster, that's a monster. A lot of the trouble that we're in America right now is because it's become so easy to demonize and otherize other people and take no culpability on ourselves. Roy Cohn was in me. I was able to locate Roy Cohn in me and find where he lived. And I think the movie holds a mirror up both to the country and this time that was a kind of crucible that formed Donald Trump's worldview, but also holds a mirror up to ourselves and our own complicity in creating someone like this.
Well, Jeremy, same question as I gave to Sebastian. Roy Cohn, again, is a pretty reviled figure, a pretty intimidating figure in history, obviously, given his what he was responsible for, not just with Donald Trump, but just unto himself. But by the end, he was completely subsumed and overshadowed by Trump, who was everything that Roy Cohn was, but just to the nth degree. And, he was ultimately reduced to a shell of who he once was relative to Trump, both physically and emotionally. Did that impact how you perceived the actual person you were playing? Like, was there a degree of sympathy at what he'd become? Or again, like, was there not?
Sure. I mean, sure. I think I felt sympathy and pity for him. That doesn't enter into what I'm doing as an actor, but me, Jeremy, I can feel that, and maybe it's a character flaw, but I can feel that. I think, I think it's important to be able to empathize. Not to say to just give everyone a free pass to do whatever they want, but yeah, he believed that success and winning was the only moral measure, and that's a very scary system of morality. And he, it's in the film, but deny everything and never admit defeat. I mean, we saw that yesterday morning after the debate. These principles that he passed on are very much alive.
How does that hit you when you see something that you just created as art in this film, but to such a broader degree that Donald Trump might transpose it onto his leadership of the entire country if he wins the presidential election?
I find it harrowing, beyond harrowing. Yeah.
No, it validates, I think, the significance, I think, of the story and of the film. And again, we're living in a very selective thinking mentality and world right now, and that's, I think, very, very dangerous. And there is a denial of reality. I mean, it's really disconcerting that we have all this technology at our hands to be able to educate ourselves on things and research things. I mean, these things that we're talking about or that are in the film really they're out there to be discovered and to be researched. They've been well documented, but yet the choice is being made to go to the Wikipedia page or to whatever is more, convenient,
right.
and can't have any convenient approach to, certainly not artistically, because then we don't know how to communicate.
Was there a single moment in this movie that best summarizes who your characters are? A certain scene, for example?
Yeah.
God bless America.
Yeah, maybe. Roy threw these parties at his townhouse on East 68th Street that everybody went to, the left and the right, everybody. And there's a scene where we're chanting God bless America, and he's saying that America is his only client. There was a moment at Trump's wedding where in one take, we did a lot of improvising in this movie around the text. And in one take, he said that your family, and I kissed him on the cheek and said, I love you. To me, that, every great movie is about a relationship. And this is a relationship movie. It's not a political act.
Right.
It's about these two people. It's about a friendship. And it's about the love between these people. Not a platonic love I'm talking about, but I think there was real love and real affinity and connection, both in their in these sort of these well, I don't want to judge it, but that moment was a gift and gave me an understanding of that relationship. We talked a lot about Midnight Cowboy when we were making this movie, and I think this stands on its own as a movie. You don't have to be interested in politics, and it's not a polemic. It's an attempt to understand how we got to where we are now.
Do you guys feel any connection to the news cycle as Sebastian, when Trump says that migrants are eating your pets? Does that have any impact on you?
Well, I think just as much as it would on anybody,
right,
witnessing a world that seems very uncertain by the day. And I think, we're in this business, but obviously the same can be said about Washington, where if you are a public figure, the truth doesn't really matter, seemingly. I find that it's gotten very, very easy to just, people seemingly are denying reality. They really are, and I feel like we're in this thing now where it's so easy to just take anything as fact, and I worry about that a lot. I don't know. I get a lot of anxiety about that.
My hope is, and I think the hope of a lot of us who were involved in making this movie, and thank you for helping get the word out. I want people to see this. I want everyone to see this. It's opening on October 10th on 1,500 screens. It's going to be in every state in this country. And do I think seeing this movie is going to change hearts and minds? I don't know. But I do think that if enough people see this movie and it becomes enough of a lightning rod cultural event, that the conversation around it, like the conversation we're having now, could help move the needle in this election, which is, I think, the most important election in the history of the modern world.
Perfectly put. That seems like a perfect place to leave. So, Sebastian and Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time today and for the work that you did in this film. Again, for people watching and listening, highly, highly, highly recommend that you not only check out this film when it's out, but head over to the Kickstarter. Make sure to support it. Donald Trump, again, is doing everything that he can to prevent you from being able to see it, to try to censor this movie from coming out. And I think it's going to be, that's a testament to how powerful the movie actually is. So, again, thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you so much.